Give us insights on this. I have a special guest with me in the studio in the person of Oluwayemisi Tony Akinola. I would love to say a very beautiful good evening to you and glad to have you with me.
Good evening. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Hope you enjoyed the holiday yesterday.
Oh, yes, I did. I slept a lot. So, yeah. There you go.
I can't relate. I'm always here. So it's all good. I'm glad that you had that. So getting into the AXA, week for good, it's something exciting. And I say it's exciting because it is focusing on the girl child. Some people will say, "Oh, but Father's Day is this weekend." We're not taking anything away from the fathers.
Absolutely not.
We're not. But it is also interesting to, give insights, especially on certain pet projects and things that are dear to the heart. Can you give us a summary of what this AXA Week of Good is all about, basically?
Okay, so for as long as I can remember, AXA every year has a week that is dedicated to doing good.
Awesome stuff.
Right. So every staff of AXA, and I'm talking all over the world, is expected to volunteer their time, their resources, their energy, their effort to make impact on their communities. So, this is something that we do every time.
Right.
But we make sure that there is a special week that is dedicated to that. All over the world, any country that you go to that has an AXA presence is going to be doing that in this week that's coming. So basically, that's what AXA Week for Good is.
Awesome stuff indeed. I love companies that give back to the society and a week. I know, yes, we can do this every day, but I like the fact that they decided to set a week for just doing good.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And with that, let's talk about the theme for this year. Why the girl child? Because being a girl you shouldn't be at risk. You shouldn't be afraid being a girl. But I'd love to get the insight into what the structure, what actually made AXA pick this one for their theme for this year.
Okay, so like I said, it's a week dedicated to doing good, but specifically because it's also about the future, right? AXA is focused on the future and making sure that the future is not at risk for anyone at all. So if there's data, for example, that says 1 out of every 4 girls around the world has experienced some sort of violence, whether it's sexual, domestic, etc. Right?
Right.
So it means that's a huge risk. And if 50% of the world's population has that risk, if 1 out of 4 of every 50% of the world, because of I would say the population is probably 50-50, or let's say 51-49 in terms of gender, right? So if half of the world stands that risk of 1 out of 4 of half of the world stands the risk of being at some point
assaulted or something.
To experience sexual violence, to be beaten just because somebody feels that they can't do something like that to them. That's a big problem, right? And it puts the future of everyone at risk. So if the girl child is exposed to that kind of risk, the future of everyone is at risk because that's half of the population. So it's very important to us that we do our own part, to make sure that there's awareness that issue even exists. Because first of all, it's not even everyone that knows that that's a thing. Right. I have my own small family. I make sure that my daughters are taken care of. I make sure that my wife is taken care of. So I don't think it's an issue. So first of all, let's even put it out there that this is an issue, and then spread the information, help people to understand why it is a problem and how they can do their own part as well to spread the word out there and reduce that risk. That number is way too high.
That's a deep sigh, because when you put out the stats like that and you see it, you would think that they're just stats, but these are humans. And if we keep ignoring these stats, just bear in mind, you never can tell when it will be someone very close to you. Not when I say someone, I'm not talking about male, I'm talking about female. it might not necessarily be at this moment, maybe your sister, your mom, your wife. It could be your grandchild that will also experience this.
Absolutely.
So it is important for you to spread the word and not just keep silent.
Absolutely.
And that brings me to, why is AXA involved in this? I know you've given insight, because usually when we hear anything about violence, gender-based violence, and all that, it's usually structured around, it's they'll say it's community-based. They'll say it is the government that needs to focus on this. Why is let me say a private company? Yeah, let me use that word. Why are they focused on this? What exactly prompted them to want to take this up?
Okay. First things first, AXA's purpose is acting for human progress by protecting what matters. Everybody's safety matters.
Okay.
The girl child's safety matters because, like I said earlier, that's half of our population. The female population is half of the world's population. So if those people are not safe, it's going to affect, like you said, everyone at some point in time.
Indeed.
One day it will be somebody close to you. One day it will be your friend. One day it will be your family member. It will be your wife. We like to say Nigerians, God forbid, but you never know.
You can never tell.
Right. So because that matters, it is something that AXA is passionate about, because what we do is that we act for human progress by protecting what matters. So it's very important and dear to our hearts.
So whilst it is important to talk about the matter itself, what about the solutions? How do we even... yes, we're speaking about this because that's one of the things you can do as either an individual or even as a corporate body. But what other things can we do to find, to give girls that safety that they desire?
First of all, educate yourself.
Okay.
The information is very important. If you don't know, you cannot do. Right, so the information is very important. If you don't have the information, you might not be able to identify it, because we talk about violence, whether it's sexual, whether it's domestic, whether it is whatever it is, but sometimes it's not as obvious as we think it is. Do you understand? Somebody might not come out of their house with a scar on their face, but that doesn't mean they've not been exactly. That does not mean some sort of violence has not been meted onto them before they came out of that house. So it's important for us to be able to see these signs. Is somebody just, unnecessarily withdrawing? Has somebody changed from their normal everyday behavior? So it's important that we're educated and, we know the signs. It's also important that young girls, people who are most likely to go through these things are also sensitized. Sometimes they themselves are abused,
but they
don't know. Because they don't have that information. So it's important that even they are able to identify those things so that they can speak up for themselves. And finally, speak up. I think the last point leads me straight into this point. Whether you are the victim or it is somebody else who is the victim and you have noticed it and you've been able to identify it, it's important that you speak up to help that person.
Now, with that speaking, a lot of people have gone through this, usually afraid to speak up because society sort of makes them feel like they put themselves in that situation. But what would you say to that girl child or someone who has witnessed such being meted out to a girl or a woman, and how do you encourage that person to come out? Yes, you said we should speak up, but how do we encourage them to come out and speak to that?
Okay, I think the first thing is to let them know that it's not their fault.
Great.
Right, so a lot of people will keep quiet because they blame themselves for the situation that they're in. Oh, okay, maybe I was a bad child and that's why, I got beaten this way. Maybe I'm a bad wife. Maybe you need to first of all know that whatever has happened to you
wasn't your doing.
It wasn't your doing. Okay, so if you are able to come out of that self-blame, you'll be able to take the next steps. The other thing to know is that there's help available. Okay, there's help available. You don't have to be there, in that situation forever. You don't have to allow that situation to continue to happen. That's why AXA Mansard is actually doing this. We're not doing this alone.
Okay.
We are collaborating with Lagos State domestic and sexual
DSVRC.
violence agency on this within Lagos to spread this awareness and also to ensure that everyone knows that there's help available. So I think the Lagos number, I think there's a hotline in Lagos, 08000 333 333. It's a very easy number to remember for anyone who may be going through these issues. Know that there's help available. There's an email, info@lagosdsva.org, where you can send an email to if you're not able to call or something. Just know that
afraid. Maybe okay, someone is listening, or someone can just trace that call.
Exactly.
But if it's a mail,
like just have it at the back of your mind that there's help, and look for that help. You will find assistance.
Now that is very, very helpful. And I'm hoping that Lagos, you're listening to get those numbers and the email so you can also help someone speak up for that person, especially in certain environments where violence is just a norm, especially against the girl child. But if you see something, speak up. Don't just cower and say, it didn't happen to me, or no,
it's not my child. It's not my mother. It's not my.
Like you said, the usual parlance is God forbid.
God forbid.
Yes. As much as we want to say God forbid, it is also important that you shouldn't just let things gloss. You shouldn't gloss over evil.
Issues like that. No.
That's just where I'm going to put it.
Because when you gloss over things like that, you're a contributor.
That is it. You're contributing to the detriment of that person. So, one of the things I'd like to ask is, how do this kind of impact help, or what kind of impact are you also hoping that this will make on the populace at the end of the day? Because, hey, this is the AXA Week for Good. There should be a drive. What's it going to be like? What is the passion behind it? What's the impact going to be like?
I think number one is awareness. Like I said before, not everyone even knows that this is a thing. Okay? Sometimes I think many of us assume that because I know, everybody knows. It's not true. It's not true. A lot of people don't know that this is a thing. They don't know that they're not meant to hit their wives. They don't know that you can't just pick up somebody and you're an 11-year-old girl and just harm her because you're a man. So it's a lot of people don't know. So first of all, people we expect that there's awareness out there. The second thing would be we expect people to even be more sensitized in terms of identifying the issues. Right. Sometimes people are victims and they don't know themselves that even that kind of thing is going on in their lives. Right. So we expect them to be able to identify. We're trying to give out as much information as we can with these partnerships. Thank God we're working with experts who this is their job, this is their thing, this is their everyday thing. They know, they work with people every day that have experienced these things, so they're able to identify, and they are going to be sharing those information during this AXA Week for Good through this collaboration. And finally, systemic change. Basically, we're not going to be able to do it all. Nigeria is very big, the world is very big, but in our own quota, we hope that we're able to touch as many lives as possible and start affecting things even all the way down to the institutions and systems. Thank you.
I like that. And for those who are listening now, certain people are listening and they feel they want to be part of this movement. How can they join in? Are there donations that they can make? Can they also volunteer themselves to come out, create more awareness? What do you do? How do they join in?
Yeah, so, during the week, the hashtag is being a girl shouldn't be a risk. So, we all know what the power of social media looks like. Say something, add your voice, social media. Also, follow the conversation on all AXA Mansard's pages. We have Instagram, AXA Mansard _ on Twitter. It's just AXA Mansard. On Facebook, it's AXA Mansard, and on LinkedIn, it's AXA Mansard as well. So contribute to the conversation in any way that you can.
All right, Lagos, you have all that information at hand, and as you say, if you do love to do good, it is important to lend your voice to, programs like this. Don't just sit back and say, okay, I've heard, okay, it's not happening to anyone I know. I don't have a girl child. You just might not know when it will happen to someone who you value or who you hold in high, who you hold very dear to your heart. Well, that's the much we can take today on the AXA Mansard Safe Cruise. You know, as always, it comes your way Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. But today's been a very interesting one. However, it doesn't end here. For those who need to get more insight, what you can do is go to AXA Mansard's website, not just for this particular program, but also to get access to the insurance plans. You can reach out to them on their website at www.axamansard.com, or toll free, you can call 0700 AXA Mansard. And thankfully, UMC also shared the social media handles, that is Twitter or X. Yeah, I'm still one of those people who still, I refer to it as Twitter or X at AXA Mansard. On Facebook is also AXA Mansard, LinkedIn AXA Mansard. However, on Instagram, it is at AXA Mansard _. And that, Lagos, is how we draw curtain today on the AXA Mansard Safe Cruise. My word to you is, don't gloss over evil. Do your own bit and look out for the girl child within your community.
AXA Mansard Safe Cruise. Brought to you by AXA Mansard Insurance PLC. AXA, know you can.